What a room, what a room. So awesome. So I wasn't really a Barbie girl growing up, I was an American Girl. So I'm a little awkward about the box over there. It's more like the Samantha. That was my girl, Samantha. She was more like the colonial ruffle types, but it's cool. We like Barbies. We can accept Barbies. I flew in last night. So my name is Lila Rose. I am the president and founder of Live Action, and any Live Action ambassadors in the room? Woo! And I'm also a California girl. Any California girls? I love it, I love it. I feel like Texas and Florida get a lot of shout outs here, but California, we're gonna take California back, right? So I flew in from Oakland, and we're gonna take San Francisco back, we're gonna take Los Angeles back. I'm from San Jose, I flew in from Oakland, I left my toddler son sleeping at home, came here, and I had a lot in my heart. I was like, this is such an important conference. This is such an important event, because the women in this room, we are not just women of passion. We're not just women of conservative values. We are women of solutions. And I think the solutions that we can bring to bear in this room over the next couple days can change this country and change the world. And that's what I'm excited to talk about today, the solutions for the future of this country. I'm also not alone on this stage. I've got somebody with me on the stage. I'm actually expecting number 2. So it's awesome. Let me tell you, being a mom, there is no greater joy and job in the world than being a mom. It is amazing. I can't even tell you how amazing it is, and it's made that much more amazing because I'm so grateful to have married an amazing man. That definitely helps a ton. I have such much more respect and reverence for single moms and how they handle it, because it's not easy, but it's amazing. It is amazing. So can't wait for this one. Can't wait to see Peter, my 18-month-old, be a big brother. And it's with all the work in the last 15 years that I've been involved in, starting Live Action in high school, building it in college in my 20s, I will tell you that there's nothing more rewarding than having that family that you come home to. And it is such a huge blessing. So I talked about solutions. I want to first begin with 2 problems that I think are really the foundational problems that we face. I think a lot of us have been talking this morning and last night, and we'll be talking the next few days about what does the conservative movement face and the politics. And all of that is really important. So I don't want to underplay any of the topics or issues that are being discussed at this event, because they're all really important. And I know the women that come here, you all come here with different things that you're passionate about. And I think that's really important too. But what I want to talk about are 2 key problems and then 3 solutions that I think underpin really all of our, not just our political system, but our society. And unless we solve these problems, all of the things we talk about, freedom, the economy, thriving, justice, the future, we can't secure. We can't secure unless we address these 2 things. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that I became aware of as a young girl. It completely broke my heart. It changed my life forever. And it was really my heartbreak over this issue that would inspire me to start my organization. And we are now a global education and media organization, so we're educating tens of millions of people every week with the truth about human life and dignity, motherhood and fatherhood. But it all started in San Jose, California, one afternoon when I had my first experience of heartbreak over an issue that at first I felt helpless to solve. And it was when I first found out about and really encountered for the first time what abortion was. And I think heartbreak's really powerful. Heartbreak can change our lives for the better. It teaches us compassion. It teaches us to care. Sometimes it breaks us internally so that we can be remade in a stronger way. But for me, finding out about abortion, actually seeing for the first time what happens to that baby in the first trimester during the most prevalent abortion procedures, and this is just such heavy stuff, but finding out what happens to that baby in the first trimester, that child with a beating heart, you can see by 10 weeks old in utero, face, arms, legs, and seeing a child that had become the victims, and this was in a history book I was reading, there was photography in it, but seeing that child who had become a victim of a first trimester suction abortion, and just being devastated over that. And beginning to learn more, I was really passionate, I wanted to discover more, and I found out that abortion is presented today as women's empowerment, right? It's being presented today as a pathway to us getting ahead, as something key that we need in order to thrive as women. And since then, since that became the rule of our country in 1973, and by the way, guess who decided that for the country? Men. It wasn't a vote that we took, it wasn't some decision that we got together and made. 7 men on the Supreme Court of the United States made the decision for the entire country that abortion was somehow going to be a woman's right and empowerment for us. And since then, over 60 million lives have been taken by abortion. 60 million boys and girls have been killed by abortion. The daily death toll is the highest cause of death, the leading cause of death in America. Nothing else even comes close. Deaths to cancer, deaths to heart attacks, deaths to car accidents, deaths to COVID, whatever you name it, the leading cause of death is 2,362 abortions every single day in America. And so when I was learning about this, it inspired me to want to do something about it because I knew it was a lie. And that's the thing, these 2 problems I'm talking about, it is lies that underpin them. As long as the lies are allowed to live, as long as the lies are being told in society that it's not a baby, right? It's not a baby, it's not a life yet, it's just a clump of cells. Or they say, oh, if you're pregnant and you're a student, or if you're pregnant and you're working, you can't do it. You have to have an abortion, you can't hack your education. What kind of message of empowerment is that to us? That we don't have what it takes. That we have to take the life of the child within us in order to move on and get ahead and compete with men and get out there and be successful. That is the anti-empowerment message. But that's the message that we are being sold. So just to illustrate this problem, because I know there's probably a lot of different experiences in the room today, and I want to say for any of us, there are many of us, whether we're in church or we're in school or wherever we are, there are going to be people wherever we go, friends we may have, maybe ourselves, who've had an experience with abortion. So I want to share this because I think it's key that we reckon with it and then we get the healing that we need, because the end game here is healing and freedom. And the video I want to share right now, we can clap for healing and freedom. We need that. Our country needs that. We don't want to be the walking wounded. And women after abortion become the walking wounded. If we live in the denial and say it wasn't a life, it wasn't our child, we are still living in the walking wounded. The Journal of British Psychiatry has a study, a comprehensive study that they did. In the year after an abortion, a woman is 155 times more likely to commit suicide. She is 37% more likely to be depressed. She's 110% times more likely to become addicted to alcohol. This is devastating not just our children, but our sisters. It's devastating us. So I want to show a brief video just to illustrate this. A lot of the work Live Action does is expose the evil that's happening so we can present the truth and ultimately the good, that is humanity of the child. And this video is a sample of some of our work, and it shows young, brave women going undercover into abortion clinics, talking to abortionists about what really happens during these procedures. You're not going to see this on CNN. You're not going to see this on most of your social media feeds or your Instagram channels. You're not going to hear this from leading celebrities or politicians, because what they want to say is that abortion is a no-brainer, it's great, we all need it, and this is actually the truth of what abortion is. So we're going to show this. The ladies in this video who are undercover are actually pregnant, really brave women. We work with an amazing team of women, and they're going to talk to some of our country's most notorious late-term abortionists. So we can play the video now.
At this point, does it have like all of its organs and all of that stuff? Like, is it already fully
It's not
developed?
fully developed. It doesn't even look like a baby yet.
It doesn't?
It has parts, like we all have parts, but it's not done.
So like, does it have a face or like all of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we're guaranteed it's like, we're okay.
It's a, yeah, we induce a demise, an injury or a demise.
What does demise mean?
Death.
Okay.
We use a combination of suction and then real instruments to literally go in and grab and pull pieces out.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe it's usually, that's a little more graphic than I usually describe it.
For some reason,
never had
I'm not able to deliver. You'll be able to get it out.
take it out
in pieces.
But that at 26 weeks is very, very good.
And what do you use to break it up? Just
A whole
what do you
bunch
say?
of it.
Got a toolkit.
Yeah, axe and drill, but yeah.
I see. Okay.
Does it ever like move or anything when it comes out? Or
That's why I try and sever the umbilical cord first, and we wait for that to stop pulsing, and that's why the fetus is expired first, so it doesn't.
has it ever survived?
After
When it comes out?
Not here, no. Usually at this point, and your
What do you do?
pregnancy is too early to survive. Usually,
Okay.
it will expire shortly after birth.
But if it did, like what would happen?
You know, technically, you know, legally, we would be obligated to help it, you know, to survive. But, you know, it probably wouldn't.
But would you make sure that it like it doesn't
You know, there's
survive?
things you do. Obviously, you're here for a certain procedure, and if your pregnancy were, let's say you went into labor, the membrane's ruptured, and you delivered before we got to the termination part of the procedure here, you know, then we would do things we would not help it.
Okay.
Let's say.
It's so hard. It's hard to even, I mean, I've seen this video probably several times now, and it's so hard to watch, but it makes me so fired up because not only do our children deserve better than how we treat children in this country, but women deserve better than this garbage that's being presented as medical care. I mentioned there were two problems. I want to run through the second one, because how did we get here? How did we get to the point? 100 years ago, this would have been unthinkable. 100 years ago in our society, we had other problems we were struggling with, but we weren't struggling with seeing children as cheap that we could be thrown away in a trash can if they're preborn. And so how did we get here? And we got here because something earth-shattering happened about 50 to 80 years ago, early 20th century. Something earth-shattering happened in our society, and it was called the sexual revolution. And I don't think this is talked about enough in conservative circles, but it's so important to understand what's happened in our society today and what's happening, even with the transgender issue, with feminism, with men versus women, with abortion. What happened in the mid-20th century? What happened was sex suddenly became, there was a whole new narrative around sex, a lie about sex. That sex was no longer about lifelong love and commitment, a marriage, someone you can rely on who's pledged themselves to you for the rest of their lives. That sex wasn't about the beautiful possibility of bringing life into the world, children, but that sex was actually just about whatever two consenting adults wanted it to be. That sex was basically cheapened. It was no longer sacred. And so the sexual revolution said, as long as you consent, you can do whatever you want. And you are entitled to sex without getting pregnant. Well, what happens? 51% of the women who have abortions in the month they got pregnant were using contraception. Even with the mantra of safe sex, it's not safe. It's not safe. And so what happens is you create a streamline into the abortion clinic. And that's why our abortion rates are so high. because we get sex wrong, because we've forgotten to see what sex is all about, and we've forgotten to see what love is about. I think every woman in this room, we're here because we believe in our value, we believe in our worth, we believe in the worth and dignity of other people, but how often in our society do we raise the bar for men? How often in our society are we raising the standard? It's like we're constantly lowering the standard. And what does that lead to? It leads to the carnage that you saw on the screen. It ultimately leads to the abortion industry, because we have then people who get pregnant who aren't ready to be parents, who say they're not ready for commitment, they're not ready for marriage, and then instead we have the abortion industry open for business, killing 2,300 babies a day. So I mentioned solutions. What's the solution to the sexual revolution? What's the solution to changing that whole dynamic? And instead of it being something cheap, sex is something beautiful again. And instead of life being seen as something cheap, life is seen as something sacred again. How do we get there? And there's 3 things I want to propose to you that I think every woman in this room has the solution for if we're willing to live this. And it's not easy to live these 3 things. I'm going to start by saying that because there are so many forces in our society working against them, telling us that these standards, these principles don't matter, telling us to lower the bar. But if we as women, the worth that we have, we raise the bar and we require everyone around us to raise the bar too, we raise the level of our society. We raise the standards in our society. We can set the tone as women. We can set the tone of the rooms that we enter, on the dates that we go on, in the classrooms that we sit, in the rooms that we occupy. We can set the tone as women. So the first thing is this: know your worth. Know your worth. I don't know about all of you, but I've had a private struggle with my worth in the past, and it still pops up sometimes. When I was a teenager, starting live action, and I was this activist on this crusade, but I really struggled with my worth. There was a time when I was struggling with depression, I was struggling with disordered eating, I was even struggling with self-harm. Even though I had these principles or these values, I had trouble seeing the value in myself. And I think sometimes this is the deadly secret enemy of us women. And so I want to encourage you, what helped me and really changed the trajectory of my life as a teenager, and I don't think I'd even be on this stage right now if I hadn't done this, is a friend challenged me to ask for help. I had a friend who said, if you don't tell your parents, I will, about all of the things I was going through. And thankfully I had parents who wanted to help me. And so one afternoon I told my parents what I was going through. I started getting counseling, I started going on this healing journey, getting mentors that could help me. We all need help at some point. Part of knowing our worth as women is asking sometimes for the help we might need. Part of knowing our worth as women is being there for our sister or the friend next to us in her quiet struggle, whatever that struggle might be. And it'll look different for all of us. The second thing is to raise the bar for men. We need to raise the bar for men. Where are the good men? Where are the men? Well, this is a women's conference, but I mean, I have so many girlfriends. They're like, where are the good men? Where are the men? And yes, there are good men out there, but we have to be willing to raise the bar for them. I think sometimes in our loneliness or frustration or just fears of being alone, whatever it might be, we might lower our bar. We might lower our standard. And I'm gonna tell you, your standards are not too high, they are probably too low. We need to raise the bar as women. We can set the tone for men. We can challenge men to be better. Because men shouldn't be about, oh, I'm gonna sleep with you before marriage, and if you have a kid, I'm gonna abandon you and take you to an abortion clinic. That's not masculinity, right? That's not manhood. A man is somebody who is working in their life to become someone who can be a worthy father and husband one day, right? That's manhood. And we can inspire that in men by ourselves living out a womanhood that's worthy of that wants that standard. Again, our society is telling us constantly to cheapen that, but we can raise the bar. And then the last thing, and it's what live action is focused 100% on. It's what I've spent so much of my work doing, and that's fight for children. Fight for children. They need us. Children need us. And part of fighting for children is fighting for their moms. It's fighting for families. It's fighting for those that need our help, who are struggling. That's what part of fighting for children is. Feminism, being pro-women, being for women's rights, we've secured equal dignity under the law to men. We have equal treatment under the law to men, largely speaking, in this country. It's amazing what we've achieved, the feminist movement has achieved in this country, the early feminist movement. Today's feminism has become this toxicity now where we're pitting women against children. Let's use our rights. Let's use the freedom that we have from knowing our own worth to fight for the rights of children, to secure the right of every child to be born, the right to life for every single child in this country. And we can do that. If our movement takes back the truth about life and lives the truth about sex, relationships, love, marriage, we build strong communities, strong families, we build the next generation of strong children, and we change the world. And that change, that solution, is in this room today. It starts with us. Thank you so much, ladies. God bless you guys.